Hey guys, it's Pinker9 here, and today I'm going to be talking about something very interesting. You know, it's kind of funny. We always find these little things that are right under our noses during the breaks of MyStreet. Now, allow me to tell you what I found. I've been rewatching MCD, and obviously, I start from season 1. And there's a few interesting little things I've noticed. Well, the first one I'm going to show here on screen is when Daniel was looking at that purple ore type thing. Now, I was watching MCD and I'm like, this looks awfully familiar. And then I looked at these two side by side and I realized they have the same texture, except the MyStreet version is in bitted form. And I thought, that's interesting and scary. And then I continued watching MCD, and I found out that this is actually called a dimension rip. This is what Sasha called it. Basically, it's a rip in between dimensions. We know Zane used it to turn Alexis into a Shadow Knight. He harnessed the power of the Shadow Realm, as he called it, or the Nether, to do that and do all his evil things. But there's something different about this. If it's a dimension rip, and it obviously looks like one, then why hasn't it spread? Now we're going to have a look at the actual definitions of a dimension and a universe. Universes are like alternate realities, in which it's like the same world, same people, but different lives and times, I guess. And a dimension is like a completely different place. Like the Nether's a dimension, Irene's dimension, the Wyvern Lair is a dimension, but MyStreet and MCD are not dimensions. So if it's a dimension rip, we should probably be calling it a universe rip. And I think there is a reason as to why this hasn't spread or noticeably really taken effect. Now, back when we got the hint for 15 until midnight, what some people didn't notice or didn't bother to look into is the fact that there is actually a movie under the same name. And I went and I watched this movie, and by the way, I do not recommend you watch it if you're young, because it has mature parts in it. But I watched the movie, and it's basically about these different, like, alternate universes. There's been, like, a rip, I guess, and they're merging together, and it causes all these problems, like, for example, a character... This is an example from the movie. A character got off of the train, walked down the stairs, turned a corner, and they were in a completely different place at a completely different time. I think they were like 3 stops back or something, and they had been at the last stop. But that's one example. Like throughout the movie, they kind of walk places and enter in and out of the different realities. All the people would change, their lives would be different, and it was really weird, and they'd kind of go in and out of each universe. But what I found really interesting in that movie is not only was there a constant mention of the number 15, we all know that's a very significant number in the role plays. One of the lines was,
"A lot can happen in 15 minutes.
Obviously, 15 years can happen in 15 minutes. But that's beside the point. The interesting part is, at the end of the movie, right before the credits, there are 2 versions of Earth. And you see this kind of throughout the movie. There'll be little cuts to the 2 versions of Earth. They represent like 2 different universes. And they slowly get closer and closer and closer. Until at the end of the movie, they're about to touch. And just before they do, there's a bright light.
You said that there was nothing but you. infinity.
Exactly how Zed was described, as it quote unquote disappeared and there was a bright light. Now, what exactly is this bright light? And this is where the whole dimension rip, universe rip comes in. Basically, what the light was it wasn't Zed disappearing, and it wasn't Zed being destroyed. It was Zed was a different universe, and it was basically signifying that just before Zed hit Earth, the universes collided, and it caused a bright light, which caused the universe dimension rip. And what's happened is, over time, either it's taken a long time to take effect visibly, or someone has been keeping it at bay, slowing it down enough that perhaps it could be fixed. Now, we're going to be having a little look at Holla for a second. Holla has always been here, in the words of one of the people from that episode. They said that he had always been here. Isn't that weird to say, though? I suppose we have to take into consideration that perhaps Holla and the whole thing with the comet and that, it didn't happen in MyStreet. It in fact happened in MCD at Irene's time. Where did I get this idea from? Well, it's simple. The book and the mural both have the same language, the language used at Irene's time. That book leads to the ruins that had to do with the comet. So it's safe to assume that this happened around Irene's time, which was like thousands of years ago. So why is it only taking effect now? If the universes are supposed to be merged, shouldn't they be exactly the same by now? Well, no, not exactly. See, someone is slowing it down, or it's just a slow process. We don't really know enough about this kind of thing to be able to tell. But what I think Holla's purpose is to actually slow down the process of the merging and the universes leaking into each other. However, it's been so long that it's starting to take effect, and there's really nothing you can do. I think that the long lost ruins are actually from MCD, and they're one of the first visible changes to the world. I don't think they were always there, but they are now, because MCD and MyStreet are leaking into each other. Well, there's some other things we have to talk about as well. Obviously, Dreams of Astoria must be part of this as well. And I think that Dreams of Astoria was possibly a part of MCD's universe, but obviously far into the future. And therefore, them being in the same universe, they collided into MyStreet's universe and are now leaking into MyStreet, and that's how all the items got there. Where did I get this from? Well, it's simple. There is 2 series on the Fantasy channel, and there are many other newer fantasy series on the main channel. So the Fantasy channel doesn't have much of a purpose other than the fact that it is the home of these 2 series that have made an appearance in MyStreet. And I think that's very interesting. And I think that perhaps they might be the same universe, or there may have been like 2 universes crashing into the MyStreet universe. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about this. I will link the 15 Till Midnight movie in the description if you guys want to go download it and watch it. But again, I will say this, and I mean it, if you are young, do not watch it because there are some very mature scenes in it. And yeah, don't do it. But if you want to see it, that's up to you. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more theory videos and MMD videos. And I will see you all later. Bye!